of interesting. This week, I've got the cameras kind of next to each other, so like a bit of a mirror image thing happening. Hello to those of you that are watching on the YouTube channel, all three of you. Good morning. Good morning, sunshine, says Dennis Mullen. Hi, Dennis. I'm looking forward to speaking with you later today. And good morning to those of you that are watching on the Facebook Live channel. Banksy is here. Hi, bud. You're supposed to ask the nice people what they wanted me to talk about. Okay. I think, let me see something over here real quick. Let's take a look. That is just, those are just settings. Okay, never mind. Hey, Sully, what's up? Cheers from Sweden. Hello to Sweden. Fun fact, Mrs. Sully used to visit Sweden a couple, I think maybe 3 years in a row during the summer. Mrs. Sully is she's a figure skating instructor and a choreographer. And one of her students here locally was, ooh, I'm looking really good. Okay, thanks, go lay down. Good job. Dude, go lay down. One of her students was from Sweden, and they were living here. The husband worked for Ericsson, and their headquarters were here in the Dallas area. And so they became friends and all that. And when they went back to Sweden, they said, well, you know, we have this summer camp for 2 weeks out of the year in July in Gävle. That's where they were from. And so Mrs. Sully used to go to Gävle and teach kids how to ice skate. Yeah, she enjoyed her time in Sweden. It's good times. All right, let's see. So people say, morning from San Antonio. Good morning to San Antonio. Ben Ubershaw says, morning. Morning from Bedford. Morning to Bedford. I've had, oh, that sounded better than a mini cube. Oh, let's not be amp snobby. Let's see. Is it a fruit bowl or a Hamilton Beach sandwich? That's an excellent question. Jed, I'm good. Craig, I'm good. Thanks for asking. All right, I think I'm caught up here. Good morning from San Diego. Good morning to San Diego. And I would like to clear up a popular misconception that San Diego does not, in fact, translate to a whale's vagina. Who knew? I have been checking out your channel a lot, and you have helped me how to. Oh, wait. Oh, now it's fading. Why is that comment fading? Oh, sorry. Pardon my finger. We'll work on this. Oh, wait. Oh, my goodness. It's kind of hard to do this. Help me a lot. So fun. Oh, Darren. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, Darren's a good dude. Stay classy, Sully, says Paul White. That's right. So let's talk about the Roland microcube for a minute. But first, today's breakfast with Sully is brought to us by a delightful egg white, cheese, and mixing it up a little bit. So this actually was not made by the Hamilton Beach breakfast sandwich maker. Now, I want to stress, I'm not off the breakfast sandwich maker, the delightful Hamilton Beach breakfast sandwich maker. No, it's fantastic. I highly recommend you pick one up. You can get them less than 20 bucks on like Amazon. Good morning, Mark. Oh, you're having a good breakfast beer. That's delightful. So that reminded me. In one of my old day jobs, I used to work in a branch of IT. I didn't really do anything. I worked for a software company. Can you tell me more about the guitar I delivered to Nikki Sixx? Yes, absolutely. Robin, give me 1 second and I will do that. I used to, I worked for the software company, and I was kind of working what's called release management, where you kind of manage a product release. And you work with testing, and you work with the developers and the QAs and make sure that things are tested. And Mark is living the dream. And so when we would have software releases, my group, or one of us in my group, each month would be responsible for kind of making sure that the software was installed across all of the Sweet. And Yavle is nice. Ah, nice. Um, uh, uh, make sure that the software was installed across the databases. And that was usually, I would start around 10 o'clock at night. And depending on how fast it would go, good morning, Tammy. You know, we'd be done by about 4 or so, 3, 4 or so in the morning. And there was one time when there was, software was breaking. It was bad. It was not going well. And when there are problems, you know, you gotta alert the people. So I was up until about like 9 o'clock that following morning, and we finally got it all sorted. We got fixes in place, and I was just wiped, man. And I hadn't gone to bed yet, and you know, it was the end of my day technically. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna have a beer and go to bed. And so golden nugget time. I don't know what golden nugget is. Is that it's like the casino, like a online gambling thing? Anyway, so I you know, Mrs. Sully's just waking up in the morning, and I'm I'm sitting there with a beer and getting ready to go to bed. Morning, Mike. Back to our delightful breakfast this morning. We have some coffee in the Sully Guitars coffee mug. There are many designs to choose from. And I thought I saw Erica pop on Facebook. Hello, Erica. Thank you for I'm wearing this delightful shirt. The great thing about this shirt, kids, is that it matches the decor in the room. This is a very comfy shirt made by Rags of Honor. They employ veterans, I believe it's homeless veterans, in Chicago, and you should check them out. Rags of Honor. It's a really, really, really comfy shirt. I am I'm very passionate about t-shirts since I wear t-shirts all the time. I like them soft. I like them somewhat form-fit and lightweight because generally speaking, I am roasting in the garage. So a nice lightweight t-shirt goes a long way. And my Rags of Honor t-shirt fits the bill and on many levels. So back to our breakfast sandwich. So we've got English muffins, we've got egg whites, we've got a little bit of cheese, we've got some salsa, which is one of my favorite toppings. Salsa is a delightful garnish. And so just to be fun, you ever see like in the like, hey Sully, why don't you ever post videos on YouTube anymore? Well, there are 3 of you watching, and this is probably not fun for those of you that are used to seeing the old shit. But this is what this is going to be. So if you've ever been in the grocery store and they've got like those little microwave egg cookers, and it's kind of like a clamshell, and like, you know, eggs go in and the lid goes down, and then you kind of put it in the microwave, and there you go. What I did this morning was I had a little bit of that, and then I had those little brown and served turkey sausage links. So I heated one up, and then I cut it up, and then I put that in eggs, and then I went, and then so we've got some accents of turkey sausage. It's definitely it's all right. I do who cares? I love breakfast. It's good. Salsa ranch. Salsa ranch? I'm not a big fan of ranch, like salsa ranch dressing, or like salsa ranch Doritos, or why no yolks? Cholesterol. Morning sport. Headed to the lake. You'll keep me entertained, no doubt, as I place you on my dash. Well, I don't know that it'll be entertaining, but I will be here for a little while. So I hope that I'm glad to be going on a trip with you, Mike, and I hope we have a good time. Use the top of a mason jar lid to make perfectly round eggs in the pan. Look at you, Ben Ubershall, with your Uber cooking. Good morning from Duncan. Oh, whoa, wow, that was loaded. Loaded question. Hang on a second. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything over here comment-wise. Oh, sorry. Wait, okay, yeah, Blaze, nice. Okay. Michael, wow, that's a lot. What are the most important tools, machines for building guitars? And what is your favorite restaurant type of food for lunch? Scientists always change whether yolks affect cholesterol levels. They have no idea what they're doing. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway. I think essential tools, at least for the way that I started out, with zero woodworking experience. So tell me more about your guitars, says Brian Hardman. That's a very loaded question. Essential tools for building guitars. I got pretty far with a bandsaw, a router, and a jointer, and a drill press. Get the best you can afford, and go for it. Craigslist is your friend. Favorite place for lunch and stuff like that. You know, I'm really terrible with that stuff because I generally eat at home. There's a place in Allen, Texas that Mrs. Sully and I discovered called Wild Salsa. Very fresh, very flavorful, very, very, very good. I like that. So going to Robin's question, who asked about the building for Nikki. What was the Kiss tribute band you were a part of? Kiss Alive. Bob, there are some videos on my YouTube channel. If you just Google Sully's Guitar Garage, you'll find, actually, if you just Google Sully Guitars on, if you just go to YouTube, search for Sully Guitars, you will find them. There's a playlist called, I think, Guitar Playing Videos. It's in there. So Nikki, Nikki started following me on Instagram, and he got in touch. I'm trying to make a short story, a long story short, but heading to the fridge now. Back at it again with the salsa talk. So Nikki started following me on Instagram, and I think that the guitars that I do, that I build stylistically, are in his wheelhouse. And, you know, like, for me, as a young Sully, I was a huge Motley Crue fan. And especially like Nikki's Warlocks. What's on my playlist of music? You know what? I got the new Parliament album. That's pretty fun. Currently listening to the Black Sugar Transmission cover of the entire Motorhead Overkill album. That is on Bandcamp. I cannot recommend that enough. Andy Black Sugar is one of the most talented human beings I've ever met in my life. He's also one of the most prolific 50s to 60s cars. That's kind of surprising, but I guess not really. But get to that in a second. Andy Black Sugar is he is a dear friend, a wonderful human. He's also plays guitar in KMFDM, and he's one of the most prolific artists I've ever come across. He's a guy that, you know, like this time last year, he just decided to do a song-for-song cover of Joe Satriani's Surfing with the Alien album just on a whim. And he recorded it in 5 days on a guitar with no whammy bar and a bass that was missing a D string, I think. If you go to Bandcamp, just bandcamp.com, and search for Black Sugar Transmission, also Sheer Velocity, which is another one of his projects where it's just super, super, super indulgent, like guitar instrumental shred stuff. So if you like Steve Vai, Frank Zappa, weird stuff. He's played with Vernon Reid, and Jason Bieler does a solo on the song for song cover of Overkill. He also did a song for song cover of Madonna's first album, and it's fantastic. So Andy is I can't, I think I probably have more music by Andy Blacksugar just because he is as prolific as he is, almost more than any other artist. Hello, says GHEWOK. Molly, where is Sully Guitars located? Just north of Dallas, Texas. So why do you love Chicago so much? Because I'm from there. Shit. So Nikki. Okay, so Nikki started following me on Instagram. And a lot of the, I kind of got into like that Firebird style because of Nikki and Robin Crosby from Rap. And one of my favorite of Nikki's basses was the one that he played in the Home Sweet Home video with like the black and white stripes on it. That was really, really, really a really cool bass. And from what I build, from a build standpoint, while some of my models are based on guitars, or at least are loosely based on guitars that were designed in the 50s, I'm more of like a second generation, in that I don't particularly I can appreciate old vintage guitars, but they don't really do anything for me. I mean, I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool, but like from a playability standpoint, I don't enjoy them at all. At least the ones that I've played, and then played 58 Les Pauls, like real 58 Les Pauls, and 57 Strats, and there was a 1960 Strat. It was a slab board Strat that actually Chris Duarte wound up buying. That one was great, but from a fretboard radius, from a neck thickness, from a neck back shape, that just weren't for me. So that's kind of what I mean as far as like a second generation kind of thing goes. The guitars that I build have way more in common with Charvel and Jackson than Gibson or Fender or any of that stuff. So when Nicky, this time last year, he was kind of he was buying guitars like a madman. And he's also been, since Motley ended, he's been taking like guitar lessons and bass lessons and vocal lessons. He's been writing nonstop. He's been writing books. They're working on the Dirt movie and a whole bunch of stuff. There's Heroin Diaries, Broadway, or a musical version of the Heroin Diaries. He's a busy, busy dude. I find a retro appeal with sharp modern edge in all your designs. Okay, that's cool. I know that your guitars are your babies, but which ones are your favorite to build? Ravens and 71s. They're not really my babies. I look at them a little different, I think, than some might. I think stylistically, the 80s throwback generation was the 50s, whereas the 90s was referencing the late 60s, early 70s. I think that's a fair point. Nicky was, he had a black Firebird Studio that a friend of his loaned to him to play. And by this time, so this was maybe like May of last year, early May. And he had posted this picture on Instagram of that guitar, and it was kind of, just joking around saying, I've got to give this guitar back to my stupid friend. Does anybody have a white Firebird Studio that they want to loan me? And I don't have any actual Firebirds. How do you look at my guitars? What do they mean to you? Oh, that's deep. We'll get to that in a second. So I have this trans white Raven that, I figured that Nicky would kind of dig. So on that Instagram post, I said, I might have something for you, and like, you're never going to see this. And that was late at night, and I went to bed. And woke up in the morning and I, looking at Instagram, and there was a message from him saying, interested in the Raven. I'm like, holy crap. Oh, and also before I went to bed, I did a video of that guitar on my Instagram, and I had this old Motley Crue headband from when I was in like 7th grade from the Shout at the Devil era. And so like I kind of put that like around the neck, and it was, oh, Nikki wants a white Firebird studio, and maybe this will do. And so he got in touch, and we talked on the phone that morning, and probably talked for about an hour and a half, and I think we probably talked about the guitar for about like 10 minutes. It was really, I like some vintage guitars, but I prefer the modern guitars today. That's cool. I do too. I think, let's stay on topic. So we had a really nice conversation, and I sent him that white Raven, to check out. And, if you've ever bought a guitar online before, you know what it's like to, is it going to survive shipping? And then you see like on the tracking, you must have been really starstruck on that phone call. Yeah, it was kind of nuts. He and I had actually spoken on the phone under different circumstances about like 20 years prior, but we had never met. I mentioned that when we were talking. He's like, "Oh shit, I totally remember that." Yeah, it wasn't. It was. Yeah, the thing that I say, it's never not weird, when the phone rings. So I sent him the guitar, and this is when he was still doing the radio show, and I saw that it was delivered, and I knew that he was doing the radio show that day, so I'm like, okay, and he's 2 hours behind, and it's gonna be a while. So it's like 8 o'clock at night. I'm like, oh geez, he's probably not even home yet, and getting later, and response is like, guitar's here, and then there's like nothing. I'm like, and then later he texted back, and he's like, oh, he really liked it, and we talked, and he's like, definitely want you to build me one. So I did, and one became two, and then when the other Raven was in process, we switched gears because eventually he wants to get a 71. So I put that Raven aside. And the one thing that's funny is that, we were kind of putting the specs together for his guitar. I generally I use these little double slash inlays. They're about the size, they take about the same visual size as dots. And because I stopped using dots, I phased them out years ago when I started using these little slashes. And hey, Alan, how are you? And so, I'm talking about, showing him some of the stuff that I've got and working on, and like, I'm figuring, we'll do slash inlays, because if I think of a Raven, hello from Toronto, hello to Toronto. When I think of a Raven, it's got a reverse headstock, it's got an ebony fretboard or a rosewood fretboard, it's got slash inlays, either a full set of slashes or just at the 12th. It's 2-hum, vol, toggle, tone, split for coil tapping, and one of a couple bridges. And it's, you think of the color orange, the same kind of thing. And so, and I'm kind of planning, I'll do some slash inlays. He's like, can I have dots? And I'm like, dude, I hate dots. Well, I'm like, that's my inner monologue. I'm like, well, I don't use dots anymore. But I'm like, well, for you, yes, you can have dots. And so that has kind of been a thing going, because he'll check in, and we chat and we catch up, and he was not only great to work with, he was very enthusiastic about spreading the word, and the connection of between Stevie from Buck Cherry and me was because of Nikki. And he had told Stevie about what I was doing, and Stevie really liked the 71. And it turned out last summer I happened to have a demo 71. So he's like, could Stevie check it out? I'm like, he send it to me, and like he can borrow it for a couple days, but like, it'll be okay. And I'm like, well, yeah, sure. And so I sent it to Nikki, and then it was again, did it arrive safe? It was really kind of like for Nikki to check out, but then Stevie was going to borrow it for a couple days. And and so, I see that the guitar showed up, and again, it's guitar's here, and then the phone rings, and oh, I just tried dots with copper rings made from tubing. Too soon to tell if I like it. Well, it's a fun thing about trying. So the phone rings, and like, hey man, how's it going? And he's like, what's the matter with you? And I'm like, well, geez, how much time do you have? And then so he started laughing, and so then we were kind of going back and forth, and he's like, this thing's great. I really like it, and I told Stevie that it's here, and he said he probably won't be able to come pick it up for a couple of days. I'm like, okay, no problem. And then like an hour later, I got a video. Nikki sent me a video of Stevie with a guitar, and he's had it ever since. So, and then that relationship has developed, and I think it's going quite nicely. That was because of Nikki, and he's been a great guy. And it's been really cool to, people will often say, oh, you should make him a bass. And I'm like, I don't want to make him a bass. I mean, if he wants one, I'll do it, sure. But he's got to deal with, I think he mentioned you in an interview with like John 5. Yes, that was on on My Favorite Riff. You can see him on YouTube. If you go to 6 Cents, My Favorite Riff, and it's the one that he did with when Stevie was on. And Stevie had that guitar that I'd sent out. And at the time of that video, there were some black graphics on the guitar in like a Chicago flag style, like that, but just black. And yeah, it started out like that video started out with them talking about the guitar. Will it be a Nikki Sig model? No, probably not. I remember joking with him. I'm like, so Stevie, Stevie and I have plans for like a Signature 71. So like, what's the Nikki Six Raven gonna look like? And he's laughing. And he's like, dude, yeah. And it was one of those things where it was like, I don't have anything to promote. I mean, it's just, it's all good. And it was nothing. I was really, certainly happy to do that. But I mean, he's got a thing with Schecter, and so I respect that. And quite frankly, I'm more happy to have him as a pal. And yeah. Okay, so I think Ben asked, how do I look at my guitars? And what do they mean to me? Well, they mean a lot, because, quite frankly, it's Sully Guitars has always existed since I was a kid. And I see that Peter Hodgson is watching. Hello, Peter. And this was something that I think Peter and I talked about on his podcast. The I Heart Guitar podcast. If you go and check that out, the I Heart Guitar podcast. Oh my, maybe it's I Heart Guitar blog podcast. Okay, if you just go I Heart Guitar, search for that wherever you listen to podcasts, you'll find it. And it was an episode. I think, I think we recorded it in January, maybe November. So you might have to search a little bit, but it was a blast, and I love Peter dearly as a sweet, sweet guy. And there's some more of these stories there. But Sully Guitars has always existed. When last week, when my mom was a special guest, that was so much fun. We talked about my first electric guitar, and it was one that I was handed down to me, and at the time, like a lot of people do, especially, on YouTube or just in general, if people get a guitar and now I'm going to customize it, and, whatever, you wind up trashing it or in someone's eyes, or who knows, maybe you make it better, make it the guitar you always wanted. I remember on this, it was kind of like a Strat style, but it was like that 60s Japanese style. I heard that you're a hardcore Randy Rhoads fan. And now it went away. Where'd it go? Oh, Robin. Hang on a second. Where'd it go? Hey, hello. What is my favorite riff? Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I love a lot of Randy's stuff. Yeah. Probably like the solo in Tonight is probably one of my favorite. Well, it is one of my favorites. My mom is very cool. Yes, Jet, she is. So when I had this guitar, I grabbed a Sharpie and I wrote Sully Custom on the headstock. So I'm like, Sully Guitars has always been a thing. so it means my life to me, really. Um, as far as guitars go, and how I think building them kind of makes me look at them a little different than from when I used to not build them. Not I guess I don't romanticize them in a way that you can do. I know a lot of people will, say, "Oh, she's the greatest. Oh, what a hot lady," and that I think is like the grossest thing. But I look at them as tools, and that's not to say that I don't care about them because, oh my God, of course I do. But um, it's the building guitars for me is just it's, and this is going to sound like silly boilerplate stuff, but it's just a pursuit to try and make the next one better than the one that you just finished. Um, and going from the design stages of models and trying to make them what they are now, that means a lot to me. And it's funny, sort of. I see. But do you ever not want to sell one in particular? Yes, there are a couple that I won't sell, primarily because they were for me. Um, um, oh crap! What was I gonna say? Like the my Silverburst 71, the Trella. I'm not gonna sell that one. And my blue Rhodes Pinstripe Trella. Those would never be. I wouldn't sell either of those. Both of them are really cool guitars, but they both have significance. Like that Silverburst was the test guitar from the batch that I built with Grover Jackson in 2016, and the blue with the pinstripes, the Randy Rhoads style pinstripes, that was also part of that batch of guitars. But that was one for me. And those stripes were painted by the same guy that painted Randy's white pinstripe Jackson, which is my favorite guitar. That guitar is probably what made me, directly or indirectly, want to design my own guitars. Pancakes, Knowles, you got some pancakes going. Nice, buddy. Do you heat up your syrup like in the microwave? If you don't, dude, that's good. Is it possible to commission an exact replica of Randy's white Concords like yours, or are there legal blocks? I don't do any replicas whatsoever, so you can certainly get replicas, but definitely not from me. If you're talking about the white pinstripe Rhodes, I won't make replicas for many reasons. The main ones is I want to respect other people's work. And I think that making copies of things is not respectful. I also, there is a legal aspect of it. Whether or not Jackson and their legal team under, whether or not they go after you is it doesn't matter. They, and also it's one of those things where that particular model is one that's kind of sacred. And for me, if you want a Rhodes, go and get a Jackson Rhodes, because that is a Rhodes in its most perfect form. That is one body shape that I've wanted. Like, there's a part of me that's always been like, and this is something that that Perry and I have talked about every now and again something we talked about years ago. Like the Rhodes, we both wanted to do some kind of version of that. Good morning, Sully. How's the weather by you? You know what? I don't know yet. It's probably going to be really, really hot. But that model is something that both he and I hold sacred, and it's kind of like, it's perfect. What am I going to do that to change it in a manner that removes the perception of it looking like a knockoff, while still respecting the framework, and also making it your own. And it's it's one of those things where, I mean, like, it's a V, it's a whoosh, that's what you got to work with. And you know, a lot of other people, you know, people have made variations of it, but it's one of those things where it looks best. Yeah, exactly. With that shape, it's pretty hard to do. Imagine if someone made a knockoff of a Sully guitar. It's happened, and it's really fucking uncool. And I don't view that as a tribute, and I don't view it as respectful. I don't take it in a compliment in any way whatsoever. Yeah. But it's, you know, the ones that I've seen, you know, it's like, oh, yeah, hello. Um, but anyway, that I'll leave it at that. That's a tough call. Ben already done there. Can only be one. The Rose thing. Yeah. So, and as far as like in the replicas too, there are people that make their living building replicas of stuff. Yes, Tim. And he might send me to your house to collect the royalties. It didn't have my logo on it, didn't have my name on it, but it was a design. And I'm going to leave it at that because that's all I can say at the moment. You know, there are a lot of people that that do make replicas and do make them very well. I think it takes a couple of personality traits that I just don't have. What polish do you use when buffing super shiny guitars, and what sanding grit? That's a whole kind of thing. I don't know if I'm honestly going to get to that. There are some really old videos on my YouTube channel about buffing and wet sanding, so I would recommend you check them out. There are some personality traits, characteristics, what have you, that I think is important if you are going to be a replica style builder. Just taking out my feelings on it about I just I think if you're going to take the time, and I guess some people might think it as see of it as a challenge, and that's what drives them, and I guess I can understand that on some level. If you're going to make a replica of something, you gotta really do it, and you have to. You have to make it exact, you know, and there's a lot of research, especially like guys that do like Les Pauls and stuff. There are some people that do them really, really well, and that sort of thing has been well documented over the years. There's a historian aspect. There's a need to. There's oh geez, what is that? I'm trying to think of the traits. It's just I just don't have the energy to dedicate to going through. Well, these are the inlays that they used at this time, and then from this year to this year it shifted over. I can't. I just don't. It's just I am certainly detail focused because I have to be in what I do, but that level of I guess screw counting. Is not something that I have, and yeah, I never understood replicas just be original. Oh, and you know, here's another thing to think about. And here's where I'm going to justify replicas. You know, some people that make replicas, they may not necessarily. People that make replicas successfully make a lot of money making those things, and if you know that if you make like a great replica of a Les Paul that you can sell for thousands upon thousands of dollars, and you've got formula, and there is some, I don't want to say it lacks creativity because, you know, I mean, you're working from a pattern, but at a very high level, and there's work that goes into it. If you are able to do that and feel comfortable doing that, you don't necessarily have to put yourself out there and create something. Now, there are builders that I know of that are known for replicas that do make their own models, or at least that did maybe replicas and make their own models. But you know, there are a lot of folks that just like, I'm just going to build a telly, and it's like, if that makes you happy, cool, I guess. I would get bored with that really quickly because, little known fact, Sting has about 6 of those Fender Relic P basses around the world. You know, early on, 12, 13, 14 years ago, you know, I was making Strats, and there are Strat heads with the Sully logo on there. They're here, but you know, they exist. But I always felt kind of like a fraud, quite frankly, doing that, because it's not really like, well, what did I contribute to this? Well, I made it green. Cool. Anyway, that would be an example of noble replica work. I think that I'd say it's noble replicas if it's coming from Fender. I think it's kind of uncool if it's coming from somebody else that has nothing to do with Fender and puts a Fender logo on it. I think that's, I mean, it's super, 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 super common. I mean, like David Gilmour's black Strat at one time had, you know, Charbel necks on it with Fender logos. So, I mean, that sort of thing is as old as the industry, I would think. But, you know, I mean, if it comes from Fender, don't care, no problem, all good. It kind of like with, you know, Gibson and what they do. Oh, that's a can of worms. I'm just going to close that. We're just going to close that. We're just going to put that over there. Anyway, but, you know, how do I look at the guitars that I build? Maybe a little more clinically. Do I know what day it is? It's June 2nd, Saturday. A lot of the artist stuff is sanctioned. The company gives it the nod. Yeah, I understand. And, you know, again, whatever a company wants to do with their stuff or other people's stuff, that's up to them. I have more of a, I have a different kind of sentiment that yeah. I'm not going to say I hope that those people die in a fire, but okay. Okay, shake it off. All right, okay. But Frank makes a very good point. Oh, dude, it's your birthday. Happy birthday. Your guitar is currently on its way to a paint booth. Whee! I don't, Ben, I don't know if I answered your question enough to how I view them differently. I definitely don't romanticize them in a manner that that I used to, maybe. Yeah. I mean, I love them. There are certain guitars that I definitely like building more than other models that I make. Absolutely. There are models that are in the current lineup that I would be fine with retiring, but I have them because I think I kind of need to have them. But that's okay. There are still things about those models that I like, and so that's good. And until that changes, those guitars, those models will remain. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna scroll through. I'm gonna do a little bit of scrolling through here. I think I've kind of covered. I know that there have been a few. Any cool woods that are inspiring me? I love the ebony that I posted before. You know, I don't know. Off the top of my head, I can't really think of anything. I tend to, there's a specific style of like figured maple that I try and hoard as much as possible. And maybe not as much now as I did a few years ago. You know, there aren't particularly any specific kinds of woods that I have something that I want to build a guitar around. Like the first Revolution, that pointy V, that was built around a fretboard. I saw a really long blank of Pale Moon Ebony. It was, man, it was gorgeous. It was so pretty, and I couldn't believe that I found it. I'm like, I can buy this right now? Really? Sweet. And it was long enough and wide enough to not only be a fretboard, but like a headstock blank. And I was really surprised with that because my headstocks are on the longer side, and the way that I put headstock veneers on, the veneer kind of goes underneath the fretboard, so it needs to be even a little bit longer. So I got this thing, and it was just beautiful. And so first thing I did is I made a neck. ETA for opening a conspiracy series, Raven orders. Probably it will sometime in July. So I got this, and I made the neck, and Alex has this guitar, and you can't see it, but one of the things that you know, from time to time I'll write notes. Like, I write notes in guitars a lot. And on the neck blank, before I glued the fretboard on, I think I wrote something along the lines of, and I have a picture of it somewhere, so whatever, I can find it, but it was something along the lines of, I have no idea what this guitar is going to be, and I couldn't be more excited. That guitar is one of my favorites, and there are aspects of it that I really like, and that was an example of a guitar that was built around the fretboard, a piece of wood. Generally, if I'm going to build something around like a fretboard or like a figured top, I try and make it so that is the focal point, and make the rest of the guitar not take away visually from the focal point. Kind of like, you know, if I'm going to do something with like a ridiculous sparkle finish. I just got a message asking if I'm free in 15 minutes to have a conversation that I'm very excited to have. So yes, we're going to be wrapping this up shortly. If we're doing something with a big sparkle finish, I don't want to put like a super streaky, crazy fretboard on it. What about electronics? What are my favorite pots and switches? I just use CTS. They're fine. The switches, the Switchcraft stuff is fine. Yeah. Yeah, I just like to pick a focal point and go with that. Okay, Omer. Hello, Omer. How are you? Greetings to Israel, my friend. How are you doing? Omer from OD Guitars just checked in, said hello. If you're not familiar with OD Guitars, you should be. You should go and look up OD Guitars. Letter O, letter D. That might become a B if this is reversed, or hey, Waddy. Yeah, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, we're gonna have to wrap this up in just a moment. So if you have any questions or anything that I haven't covered, now's a good time. Something fun. I feel like this has kind of been a little heavy. I had a bit of a setback yesterday afternoon, and I'm still kind of like feeling a little about it. So, but I had a great. Yesterday was the majority of yesterday was a very nice day. I got a lot of. I got some organization done. I got some cleaning done. I got some other things that needed to be done. I am in the middle of a woodworking Series 1 ETA. I don't want to give a specific date, but they should be here they should be here soon. But I will say that those who, so going back to the run one, going back to the conspiracy series thing, those who pre-ordered their run one guitar and have paid it in full, and I believe the person asking the question is that just about has it, or is, as long as those that are pre-ordered and paid off by the time that they get here will be shipped first. So you will be one of the first people getting yours, and especially since you are not far away geographically, maybe you need to come down and grab it. Okay. Oh yeah. Thanks, Tim. Today's it's going to be fine. You know, things. Good things happen. Uncool things happen. As trite and silly as you know, we think of a cloudy sky and gray skies and storms and oh, it's bad and gloomy. The blue sky is still there. You just can't see it right now. So I am I'm going along with that. So setbacks happen. It's how you go along and respond to them. And that has always been something that's been a bit of a pursuit for me, because I am someone that tends to maybe fly off the handle a little bit when something happens that I'm not super excited about. And I'm doing my best to not do that. So need to meditate more. Yeah. And have a wonderful, oh, thanks. Ma Lee, you have a wonderful day too. And thank you for saying that. That was very nice. And yeah. Okay. So I got to get ready for a phone call that I'm super excited about. And it's one of those things where, oh, this could lead to something. So I will be here next Saturday. I hope that you will be too. Please feel free to, you know, if you got questions and things you want to talk about, participate. This is fun. This is the closest thing to me doing a podcast that will happen. I kind of miss doing podcasts, but after I've been away from them, I have found that I am not really ready to make the commitment of doing one weekly, being a little more selfish with my time. Where, oh, you're in Oak Lawn. You know what? I have relatives in Oak Lawn. My dad's side of the family is south side, like over Evergreen Park, over by there. I grew up in the western suburbs, like DuPage County. So anyway, until next Saturday, I hope you have a lovely day. I hope you have great hair. I don't right now, but I know that it's much like the blue skies. They're still there. I know that there's great hair. And I got problems. We'll talk to you later. See you later. Bye. Oh, are you sure you want to stop streaming? Yes.